time's up. Let's do this.
We're in for a wild night.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 194 of Born to be Wild, a wild and wild-adjacent Hearthstone podcast where we have fun, hanging out with friends, talking about the wild and wild-adjacent formats of Hearthstone and spotlighting members of the wild community. I am your host, Hydralisk. It's great to be back on this so-so Friday evening. It's kind of miserable out there, but I am in beautiful BC. We got a good view of the mountains out here, and I'm doing great. Back to be with my buddies talking about one of our all-time favorite games, ElectricSheepCity. How are you doing?
Meowdy friend, I'm doing fantastic. Coming at you from cold Colorado. Not super duper cold. Like, it was snowing on my way into work this morning, but it has, all melted already. But still got those like glorious snow-capped mountains, which is incredible.
I love it.
We've also got the one, the only, Schmoopydaddy.
I can hear the air horns this time. It's ridiculous. All right, I'm doing great. It's finally starting to feel like spring. It feels like we're never getting another snowflake on the ground. My driveway's filled with potholes. Super excited once again for it to be Friday night and be hanging out with the boys. I feel like at this point, this is where I say housekeeping.
So, for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. Let me briefly explain how this show works. We record this podcast live every Friday evening on twitch.tv/borntobewildhs. And the video of the version of this podcast is then posted to YouTube shortly thereafter. Audio versions, they're also distributed to all the podcast apps. So however you are watching, listening, or absorbing via osmosis this podcast today, thank you. Yes. You.
Content plug, Schmoopydaddy. Before we get into the main topic of the show, I'd like to say a quick thank you to Shakuna and the other patrons of our show. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and comment on this video on YouTube. Another simple way to support the show is to leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or your podcast platform of choice. If you're watching live on Twitch, we've got some awesome emotes that you can unlock by subscribing to this channel. This is free if you use Amazon Prime. There are also emotes you can unlock completely free just for following. Born to be Wild merch. Picture of my wife. Here's a link to our main shop. There's no link for me to read this time. Finally, if you'd like to support the show financially, you can join our Patreon for as little as $1 per month. We have a few channels on the Discord that are unlocked by subscribing to the Patreon, where you can see the show coming together each week. Check it out. That's a lot of fun, actually. I like being able to just sort of show... I'm going off script here for a hot minute, but I really do enjoy that part where like we can kind of like show people what we're thinking sort of in the moment and dropping it down. And I don't know, that part's fun. I haven't heard feedback yet from Aramorn, but that is a cool little thing you can do with Patreon. And
it's been a lot of fun to participate in.
What? Yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you'd like to interact with us personally, please join our Discord, a free and amazing online community of friends all across the world who love talking about Wild Hearthstone. Links to all this stuff and more can be found on our website, which is www.borntobewildhs.com. Hydralisk, how's your week?
So there's this mode called Twist that sort of exists right now. I don't believe it's the best advertised mode right now, but for me, it's the most played mode right now because reliving these periods in time have been super cool, and actually experiencing the first couple days of it were times I didn't get to play in, right? So obviously we played Classic because they gave us that, but I mixed Nax and GVG at the beginning, like the first two expansions. I got to play with the cards, but I didn't get to play in this specific meta before we had things like Blackrock Mountain, come out, right? So it was cool to hop into that, and I really appreciated to be playing something like Undertaker Hunter, and I'm versing a patron warrior, and it's like, this is so cool. Like this is so cool to be able to do that. So obviously I play, aggro decks. I do that, and it's kind of like I like faster style games. So it started off with that. I played Zoo day one, and then Nax out Undertaker, jumped into that, and that deck is still good, like with expansions that came out. So I continued to play it. Then Face Hunter actually became a thing. So why not? That's gonna win. So Face is the place. You just sort of ignore everything they're doing, unless they have a crazy hyena that's getting out of control, and you sort of got to do something about it. But in general, you have to go completely Face, and yeah, it was ridiculous. I'd mentioned in our Born to Be Wild chat that for some reason I couldn't lose, which was great. Sheep had said maybe your MMR isn't like properly set or something.
What start bonus did you start with in Twist?
I think 8 in Twist.
Okay. Yeah, in Twist.
I think that's why, or 9, 8 or 9 or something. And
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
that's possibly why. Yeah, because I ran out of stars at Platinum 5.
Okay, sure. Okay.
So that would be 8.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. I hadn't touched the mode in a bit, or was it? I don't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter. I think that the reason is possibly some sort of MMR thing at the time, and then once I hit Diamond, things changed. I think I was starting to play people more my own skill level. And then I saw you guys were like super excited, Old Gods. And so Old Gods was, for me, when I came back to Hearthstone, because I left for a while, like 6 months, a year, 8 months, something like that. I don't know what it was. I didn't play for some reason. And then they gave you a free legendary Cthulhu. And I was like, well, that's super cool. I'll play that. And admittedly, I thought his name was Cthulhu, because that's how it was spelled, the letter Cthulhu. So I used to call him Cthulhu. Back in the day.
I love this. See why not?
This Cthulhu deck.
Steven!
Unless you play, what's the Disciple of Cthulhu that goes, Cthulhu. And at that point, I'm like, oh, how did I not, connect those dots? Because I think I still called him Cthulhu for a while. But so yeah, Old Gods came out. So yesterday was jamming some Cthulhu Warrior, and did that a little bit. Only played a couple games. I jokingly posted 100% win rate because I won my first game with it. Though I'm just sitting right at that Diamond 6 mark, trying to cross that threshold because I don't have any bonus stars left. And so that mini final boss for what I will call D5 is sort of like the dad legend at this point. Didn't quite cross that line. I'm looking to do that this weekend and then make a push for legend as the month goes on. It's so fun. I was worried that if I was just going to play Face Hunter and I got to legend, then I might get bored and then not continue to play because I already hit legend. So like I kind of appreciate that I haven't gotten that high, I guess, because I got to continue. I tend to do that. I don't know what it is, but when I hit legend, I don't often. I'll switch modes. I'll hit legend. I'm like, got that one. Okay, let's play standard, right? Let's play at the time classic. Let's like jump around. And I was sort of worried that was going to happen, but I got to continue to play Twist for the rest of this month. I love that this is a thing. It is super cool, and I'm enjoying it. I know accessibility is an issue for people that don't have all the cards. Fortunately enough, I became a never dust person not long into my Hearthstone career. I decided not to do that, so I kind of am fortunate that way. But yeah, outside of having an absolute blast in Twist, that's it. I basically get home and I play Twist. Like,
that's cool.
I've been doing, I've been doing that. trying to finish another book this week, and so I'll have 6 books under my belt for the year, and then move on to more because I am a little behind. But that's
Gotta
really
get to
it
that
for
44.
me. Yeah. How about you, Sheep? How has your week been?
My week was good. So good that I did not realize how many things happened this week and did not drop things to you until we were talking about our weeks. And I was like, wait, this also happened this week. This also happened this week. So this week I hit Legend in Wild. Got there on... Yeah. Got there on what day was that? It was the 4th or 5th. With Shrivala OTK Paladin. That deck is still very good. I'm a big fan. It was funny. I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna, it was Monday. I'm gonna do this before the wife and kid get home. Right. And then I didn't. And so I was on mobile whenever it was my turn to like eat because, like we feed him and get him situated. And then like, my wife like eats and then, while I'm feeding him, and then like we switch spots. So then either she's feeding him or like up to give him a bath or whatnot. And so at that point it's, my turn to eat. And while it's my turn to eat, I was playing Hearthstone, and that's when I hit Legend this time. So it was my turn to both figuratively and literally eat.
Wow. That's wild. Well, no, it
is.
Actually, in this case, it is wild. It is wild.
It is. Yeah. Accurate. Outside of that, I've been playing a lot of Twist, and Twist is why, it was all of the 4th by the time I hit Legend in our format, because I've been playing a lot of Twist instead. So, I did not quite get to Legend in Twist. I thought I was going to yesterday, and then I had like passed out. But I made like this really cool little like roadmap / calendar for Twist because I was like, okay, what is it today? What is it tomorrow? And I was asking Celestalon about like when the Demon Hunter Initiate set. I was like, or no, it wasn't that one. It was the Caverns of Time. When Caverns of Time was going to come in. And he was like the 30th. I'm like, can I just say that? He's like, ask me on Twitter. And then like, it's public. So I did. And so I posted like my list, and he's like, oh, actually, Galakron's Awakening has its own day, and we're not going up to Whizbang's workshop because that would just be wild at that point. It's like, oh, okay. So, I made some tweaks and stuff like that to like actually reflect what each day actually is. And this has actually been more helpful for me than anything else.
It's
and so
really
I was like,
cool. It's a neat little
thank
graphic.
you.
Dude, I'm not going to lie. When you posted this calendar, I didn't realize you made it. I thought you pulled it from somewhere, and you were like, hey, check this out. And I'm like, this is super cool. I just like assumed someone on the Blizzard team made it or something, and I've been looking at it constantly. Like I saved a copy of it, and I've been using it. Like, oh wait, what day is it? Oh, okay, and like just checking to like make sure I'm gonna be up with the meta. What deck can I do? Yeah, one super cool thing that you can do, I just want to throw in there is, if you're not doing it already, you can go and look at old Tempo Storm reports.
Oh yeah,
meta reports. And just see what the best deck was at the time. And I didn't know that they did this, but they went back and actually, because at the time they didn't have deck codes, they're there.
They're there now,
like
yeah.
They're there, yeah. Somebody went back and did that work. I don't know if there was a way to automate it or whatever, but they're there, which is cool.
Sheep, I have one bone to pick with this map though. It seems like you've got like a brand new expansion on the 15th called Rosticon's Rumble. I feel like that should just be a second bomb for Boomsday Project. I don't remember that expansion happening. That seems to be an oversight on your part.
You see, the 14th is the Boomsday Project. The 15th is the fallout from the Boomsday Project, which is White's Bones.
Ah, got you. Okay. That makes a ton of sense to me. That makes a ton of sense to me because I don't remember anything changing until Rise of Shadows. All right, cool. I'm glad I'm there.
And you can tell when I made this because like screenshotted Google Calendar. So first I like typed all the things into Google Calendar, and then I screenshotted that to drop the images on top of. And the third is like highlighted because that's when I made it.
That's cool. No, I love it, dude. I thank you. Yeah, the third is highlighted because that's when you finish it off. No, that's so cool though.
And since it's on Google Calendar, like for me, I use this whenever I'm sitting at the computer, but whenever I'm on mobile, like I just tab over to my Google Calendar because each one of these is an all-day event on my Gcal.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Wow. That's so awesome.
So I've been playing a lot of Twist, if you can't tell. Super involved and invested in that mode. It's my favorite thing going on in Hearthstone right about meow. Like I said, I thought I was going to hit Legend last night with Cthulhu/N'Zoth Warrior. And then I fell asleep super early because I like accidentally woke up at like 2:30ish and just couldn't get back to sleep.
You didn't fall asleep playing Hearthstone in the bathtub, did you?
Not this time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so then today, you know, like I started at like D1 or D2. And I was like, okay, like one night in Karazhan. Okay, like I sleeved up a Disco Warlock.
Yeah.
That didn't do too well. So then I sleeved up a mid-range Hunter, and that didn't do too well. So I like fell to like D4. And then I switched back to the exact same list that I was running before of the Cthulhu and N'Zoth Warrior, and I got back up to D2. So if I just hadn't like switched off, I probably would already be Legend, but I fell. So then I had to, you know, I got knocked down, but I got up again. They're never going to keep me down.
I knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm. So once I hit Legend and Twist, I think, you know, I may not be playing as much as I am right now because, you know, this is pretty much all I'm doing in Hearthstone, but I'm still going to be playing like at least multiple games of Twist a day, like to experience the different metas. Like One Night in Karazhan was one of the like last just adventures, and you can kind of tell why now, truthfully, because it wasn't super impactful. Like LOE was impactful, obviously. Blackrock Mountain like had a couple of standouts, but wasn't like super impactful outside of like a handful of cards. And so then, you know, tomorrow we've got Mean Streets. That's going to be an impactful one. And then Journey to Ngoro. That's impactful. Knights of the Frozen Throne. That's impactful. Kobolds and Catacombs.
Yeah.
The Witchwood.
Mean Streets. For me, the fact that Mean Streets is on a Saturday is super cool, at least in my time zone in this world. Mean Streets on a Saturday is super cool because I do not get to play a lot during the week. And that was one of my... I know it's not the all-time best expansion in the world, but it was one of my favorites. And then Ungoro, which was so cool, like right after is going to be on Sunday, so that's super cool. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be a good weekend.
Yeah, it is. So I've been playing a ton of that and am excited to play a ton more of that with like probably going forward after today, like a different deck each day again, because for at the very least the next week, like things are super impactful. And then the week after that, super impactful. And then the week after that, it starts with United and Stormwind. So super impactful. Like things are going to change like, whoa, every single day. And I'm absolutely here for it. So that's what I have been and will be doing, mostly in Hearthstone, truthfully. But that's pretty much been my life lately as well. So Schmoopydaddy, what have you been up to this week, bud?
I thought this was like a really like uneventful week for me Hearthstone wise. Like I personally wise, like, you know, your Schmoopy update. He's doing good. He had a pretty good week. You know, lost it once or twice right in that messy zone between, you know, dose 1 in the morning and lunchtime. But like he did had a pretty good week. So we were really pretty happy with him in school this week. So he did pretty well. In Hearthstone, I think the most eventful thing that I ended up achieving was not falling asleep during a particular game last stream last night where Tom Carter sent in Reno Domo Rogue, which I've absolutely done before, but like need some prompting. And we happen to get a nice, slow, greedy dragon druid, and so I get the perfect setup. I get hooked up, and then he keeps finding ways to shuffle in cards into his deck, and I keep just like ripping tests and hit and pass and ripping hero powers and pinging with my Kingsbane. And what's so funny now is you play Reno Lone Ranger in that deck, and the way he interacts is if you play him as a rogue, he counts as a rogue card because that's how he was skinned. So when you play Major Domo and you switch to Ragnaros and you play Tess will replay Reno Lone Ranger. Now, you won't get the battle cry that erases the field, but you do get 5 armor every time you play Tess. So you're getting 5 armor, you're getting an evasion, you're getting a Cloak of Shadows, as long as the Cloak of Shadows procs after you've equipped Reno Lone Ranger. Otherwise, you don't get the Cloak of Shadows. And it drags on and on and on and on. I was convinced we were going to tie, but my opponent, for some reason, kept spamming Yogg-Saron Unleashed, and one of the times the Unleashed guy buffed up one of my Tesses so large that I was going to be able to kill the Yogg-Saron, and they just scooped. They just decided they were just not going to have it. They weren't going to deal with it. It was not what they wanted to do, but it did take my stream hostage for a good half hour. Which was pretty funny because like it's we've done this more than once. We've had this experience more than once, but it was just like I had forgotten. And it happened again, and so I got to enjoy it. Yes, Sheep.
So you know how you said that you did not fall asleep during this game?
You did?
You know how I said that I fell asleep super early? I fell asleep at my desk before the conclusion of this game and woke up and you weren't on anymore. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go lay down in the bed. So you did not fall asleep during this game, but I did.
I put you asleep. I find it like a little bit horrifying sometimes when I pull it off. But as Tom Carter was pointing out as we were playing the game, he's like, dude, your viewership's going up. I'm like, oh God, all right. Like, this is just a pure spectacle of how weird it is. It's like standard. I have I frequently raid Wrong Mexico because he's on roughly the same time I am, but he plays standard. But like he's been nice enough to shout me out. I've gotten a couple people from Ron's stream to follow, and so they come by every once in a while just sort of check what Wild's going on, and they are horrified. They're like, oh my, this just goes on forever. What are you do? This is and like I think they stuck it out for the whole, just for how weird and grotesque it was. But yeah, that was a thing that happened. Another thing that happened, I had forgotten about this until we started talking about the stream. I got 500 follows. That was really cool to hit that milestone.
Congratulations!
Around the 6-month mark. We're doing okay. It feels like we're stagnating growth a little bit, but you know what? I'm really happy with it because like to have that much progress and to have people showing up and having fun, that has been a blessing in and of itself, and that's been really, really, really cool. Mostly in the game, I've been achievement hunting, which is tanking my MMR, but I'm looking at level 360. So I think I'm probably going to hit level 400 by the end of the expansion, which I didn't think would happen. But, you know, I don't know how you feel, Sheep, but I feel like this expansion has been an unmitigated success as far as, like, Wild goes. Like, I've had a lot of fun playing Wild, and I've played a lot of ladder. And because I've played a lot of ladder, I'm right around level 400 without, like, I buy the battle pass, so I get the experience boost, sure. But I haven't been, achievement hunting all that hard. I'm at, like, I think 69%, nice, for like my total progress. So I haven't really been like cooking super hard to get there all the way, and I'm still totally within reaching distance with, X number of days to go, a little more than a week. 2 Mondays, which is like 16 levels. So like if you do the math, I don't have very far to go. I don't have to play all that much to get there. It's just been fun to play. So that was, I think, everything in my week. Oh, I will give my Twist update real quick about Twist.
Ooh.
Following, because I'm at 10x, so I find that my MMR is a little bit different. It might probably mirror Sheep. I don't know if you're like 11 or if you're 10.
I was 10 this month. I think I was 3 above the bottom of Legend in Twist last month. It was not my meta, which is okay. That's what's fun about Twist. Sorry,
I unfortunately
continue.
lost my 10x in Twist. I do miss it, so I'm looking forward to getting that back.
Well, you're grinding it enough, you're going to get it back, right? Like if you really want it, you're going to get it back. Like I wouldn't worry too much about that. But
it's not a PSI. It's not a player skill issue.
No, it's not. Corbett's been streaming it a lot, and I've been kind of paying attention to him. And so what was really funny was he's just like, yeah, Handlock is kind of the best deck in the format. And so it's been really funny because I haven't changed my Handlocks in like a couple days, and I just sort of keep playing it. And I keep just sort of like just keep climbing and just keep climbing. And this Twist isn't exactly what you'd think it would be. You'd think it would be a walk down memory lane and you're reliving old metas, but you're really not. What you're doing is you're reliving like an alternate timeline of what Hearthstone could have been, which I think keeps it fresh for a lot of the newer players, like Corbett. Corb's like, he's like, I love this. This is so much more interesting than if I was playing exactly the same thing over again. And a couple things are different. The first thing that's different that I think is most impactful is all the control tools are stronger. So like Handlock got Siphon Soul to 4. It got Hell's Fire to 3. And Jiraxxus gains you 5 armor.
Doesn't set your health to 15.
There's no health penalty. You don't die to sack pack. Or I don't know if you die to sack pack.
You don't. Okay. You might to your own sack pack, but sack pack itself was changed to only destroying friendly demon.
It's a very different kind of like weird meta where it's like it's much more
Sludge
control
Belcher
heavy.
OP.
Yes, Sludge Belcher.
Sludge Belcher was buffed. I mean, on the warrior side of it, like what? Bash, Slam,
Thorson
Execute.
Is 5 mana. So you can drop Thorson on 5 for your Leroy combo. Like there's a lot of aspects that are very different from the original that would have thrown the original balance all out of whack. But not only that, I have done that thing where like you look back at old like meta reports and you're just like, oh, let me net deck this deck, and then you look at it and you play it and you're like, I think I can make this better. Like I think we're just better players. There's more institutionalized knowledge, and so like we can refine some of these, and they play completely differently than they should. Which is, I think, another thing that's fun. I see Sheep he's smiling like an idiot. He's like, oh yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, there's. Not only that, there was one in particular where it was an aggro shaman like list, and in the comments, people were hyping up. If you're running into a lot of control, play Elemental Destruction. Elemental Destruction is the control like tech because you destroy their board so that you can go face. With what board? Since your board went away, I don't know. Elemental Destruction has been buffed since then, and it's terrible choice. Like as a community, we are such better deck builders now than we were back then. It's absurd.
So yeah, it's so like that is very much different. And because all of that is different, it's not exactly the experience that I expected, but it's been cool. Where I am enjoying it. I'm not playing as much of it as you guys. I'm playing like maybe, I didn't play any of it today, but I play maybe like 3, 4, 5 games tops. So I'm at Plat 2 right now. Where I'm really going to crank it up is when we start getting to like Ashes of Outland, Skullomance, Dark Moon Fair. When I start feeling like I have a better handle on the meta, because like Dark Moon Fair, that makes sense. I'm just gonna spam Kingsbane, and then Barons is gonna run around, and then I'm gonna spam some Scimitar Rogue, and then Stormwind's gonna run around, and I'm gonna spam some I don't know what yet. Maybe I'm gonna spam my old questline Pirate Warrior. I don't know. But I feel like
but since the nerfs are in effect, maybe not the Pirate Warrior.
No, we'll see.
Maybe the Pirate Warrior, maybe not. We'll see.
I mean, like
you said, it's a different timeline.
Instead, maybe like I said, I have
Mean Streets will bring in old school Pirate Warrior, right? That's like regular Pirate Warrior with Mean Streets, right?
That's blew my mind. I forgot. I had a hand buff paladin that was really good in that meta. That I don't think anything's been nerfed, and probably some things have been buffed. Like I have so much more of a pulse, a finger on the pulse of like those metas that like sort of toward the back end of next week is really when I'm going to start pushing, and I'm sure that's when people are going to stop playing it. But at the same time, I feel like this is like the free. It hit me this week. This is the freest legend I've ever had because it's all old wild stuff. And like I have so much useless crap built up in my brain about all those eras that I'm sure I can craft something. And you know what? A lot of the buffs that change the early eras, it doesn't change it as much. So like that part has been fun. That part has been fun. All right, Hydra, what is the news this week?
Welcome to the news. The news is so good.
So one of the main topics that we've heard over and over again for the last couple months is all of the botting, whether it is in a different server than you play in, whether it's in the different mode that you play in. It's something that I experienced in Asia first, moved into EU that I noticed, and then it was all over NA, especially when we were playing Classic, is bots everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that was nuts. The climb was crazy. Just so many bots when we were playing Classic. But they're on it. They're still on it. And so Celestalon posted that they banned another 85,000 bots and that they're not done. They're gonna keep hammering them. So the post that they posted on the Hearthstone forums was that we have another quick update on our continued fight against botting in Hearthstone. Since last month's bans, we've continued to refine our bot detection systems. This week, we actioned nearly 85,000 accounts for botting. We're continuing our efforts against these cheaters, and you can continue helping by using the in-game reporting function to report suspected bots. That's crazy. How do you guys feel about this? They seem to really be on it. If they are banning 85,000 bots since last month's bans, they're totally all over this.
So they are, but the reason why I think that they have 85,000 to go this time is what happens once the bots have been banned?
Well, they make new bots.
They make new bots and they start over again. So it's actually been a lot easier to kind of detect whether a bot is a bot or not. A bot is a bot or not. For example, in Blister Guy, hi Blister Guy, his podcast Walk to Work the other day. He played against a bot. And the bot was playing just basic cards because it hadn't built up its collection at all yet to actually do anything. So it's like, A, he rolled over the bot. And B, it was super easy to recognize that it was there. So hopefully, the fact that they are so much easier to identify now means that more people are reporting them, means that they'll be banned even swifter and it'll continue. So in general, like you said, they are on top of it. They're banning them as quick as they can, the whack-a-mole game. But also they just keep on making new accounts and new bots to keep on going. So, I mean, what can they really do for that particular issue? Nothing, right? But the fact that they are doing things makes that issue a lot more easier to identify, which is good for them banning more, but also maybe leading to some additional player resentment because people are more easily able to identify that they're playing against a bot too, if that makes sense. Schmoopydaddy, what do you think, bud?
Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry. Kind of what you just said is like you ban a bot. I saw it almost immediately. It was so weird. Like we saw all those accounts banned. And then I naively just sort of dumpstered down to the middle of Legend Ladder thinking, oh, I'll catch some fun games. And I queue into like 30% Mine Rogue because a bunch of people who got banned are all building up their account again. They're playing Mine Rogue to get back up again. And some of those people were botting on their way up. Not Mine Rogue, but playing even Shaman bot, or they were playing like Pirate Rogue as a bot. And so yeah, it's... a lot of these accounts, they're like burner phones. Like, they don't really care too much a lot of times, or have an attachment to or any kind of sentimental value to a lot of these accounts. I don't know if we talked about it on the show. I'm sure we have, that like some of these accounts are purely made for profit. And the fastest way that they make profit is they essentially get a perfect arena run. You get a perfect arena run that is highly valued in some communities, and you can sell the account to a streamer. This is typically in the Chinese community, but you can sell an account to a streamer. They play through the perfect arena run, and they discard the account anyway. So like, you start an account for nothing. You get botting software for, I'm assuming, either cheap or free. You usually run more than one account, and you sell off your account at the end of it and just rinse, repeat. So this is going to have to be like a consistent effort from the devs. I think this was sending a message that like, hey, we are going to make this a consistent effort, because this is a real existential problem for the game if the game starts to feel like ladder is monotonous because you keep queuing into bots. Because I experienced trauma and adapt, I had basically gotten used to my legend climb being essentially bots past D5, and it was actually kind of jarring. I'm like, oh my, I have to play against real people now? What is this? And it was,
I thought this was PvE.
Yeah, and it was, yeah, exactly. This is just fan-made PvE content. If it's good enough for Skyrim, it's good enough for us. Let's
go.
But like, it wasn't like that. It was a lot more diverse and varied, which is like one of the charming experiences of WoW, is there's a variety of strategies that are all looking to kill you in many different ways. So like, experiencing that variety and that strangeness and the weirdness that happens, that's a lot better. So yeah, no, happy this is happening. Happy this is signaling that like, hey, you can't just make your account again. We will nuke you. I don't know if it's necessarily a deterrent. People are just going to keep calling that bluff and keep calling that bluff and keep calling that bluff. So I hope they're in it for the long haul and that it's not difficult. But I know there are parts of the community that are also, we're good at spotting bots, and we are more than happy to keep sending the indicators to keep them getting caught. So.
I just had a thought. So a long time ago, when Blizzard made a game called StarCraft, there were people that came up with something called the map hack, right? Mm-hmm. And what the map hack would do was it would, if you're playing a PvP match, it would get rid of the fog of war on your map, right? So you could see your opponent's base. And it started to become really obvious when your opponent was doing that, because if you're playing a certain map where there's 16 different possible places you could be, but they went straight to you every single time, you knew that they had this map hack. Now, what ended up happening was Blizzard figured this out, and they developed the technology to know that you had that software running on your computer when you launched the game, and would immediately ban your CD key when you logged in. I don't know how that worked, but if you had it open at the time, like that software, that program that was running the map hack, and you logged into your Blizzard account, it was bam, you're now banned. Like, you need to go purchase a new copy of StarCraft. So times have changed. Hackers are better. People who are doing these malicious things are better than they were in the late 90s, early 2000s. But it was totally a thing. Also, StarCraft 1 had replays. So that's another thing.
Right.
That's a total side point. But the technology might be there. I don't know, Blizzard. It rewind about 25 years and ask those guys. Maybe they remember how they used to detect that. But it was honestly a thing. Banned the second you logged in with your hacks enabled. So a third-party software running. Get them, Blizzard. Anyway, did anyone have anything else to say about the the bots before we move on?
Rest in piddle.
No. Rest in piddle.
Hey, I
be
said
missed.
that on Squelch this week.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. But about
All right, so-
Prince Renethal.
The next item we have is sort of like 3 announcements in one, right? So upcoming next Monday on Twitch, there is going to be the 10th anniversary community day. And then on Wednesday, there is the theory crafting stream for Whizbang's workshop. And the third part to this is the fact that you like free things. I like free things. I'm pretty sure Sheep likes free things and Schmoopydaddy likes free things, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Air's great.
if you tune into these streams on either the Monday or the Wednesday, you can get Twitch drops. So there is 1 festival pack, 1 Titans pack, and 1 Badlands pack is one of the packages here. Then we got 2 Whizbang packs, then 1 golden Whizbang pack, then 2 tavern tickets, then Epic Crystal Juice Strike, and then Hearth Bartender. All drops coming from these events. So yes, that is this coming Monday, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and then on Wednesday for the theory crafting live streams. Sheep, do you want to tell us something interesting about the theory crafting live streams?
So there's this one wild podcast that was previously invited to some theory crafting live streams. Whenever there were some wild theory crafts, you know, they no longer are doing wild theory crafting, but we have been invited back this time to participate in the standard theory craft. So excitement abounds.
We're going to tie our shoes.
I will take it.
We're going to tie our shoes.
Yeah, it was so fun doing all the theory crafting streams, right? Like we would do the wild ones. They were an absolute blast. It was announced, I don't know, a year ago or so that they were no longer going to be supporting that. And yeah, a little like single tear down the side of the face when that happened, when they said they weren't going to be doing that anymore. But we have been invited. We're super stoked. That's next Wednesday. So we will be streaming the theory crafting for Whizbang's workshop in a little bit of a different way. We will be doing the standard format.
And that is the day that the Witchwood is in Twist. So I may or may not be playing some of that whenever I'm not driving the account because I want to play me some Odd Paladin.
So you're going to be on your phone. Well, you're like, yeah, good move, guys.
I'm going to be watching on my phone so I get the drops.
Yeah.
That's
Good
gonna be
job.
that's gonna be like the side streamer hack. It's just like, oh, while I'm live, let me also watch live. It's so many drops though. Like I love the value here. Like, all right, I'm never gonna use the BG stuff, right? Like I'm never gonna use the custom bartender. I'm never gonna use the epic crystal juice strike. Doesn't matter. Like compared to like the typical drops, 1 festival pack, 1 Titans pack, 1 Badlands pack. Sometimes that would be it. Sometimes it'd just be 2 packs, 2 Whizbang packs, 1 golden Whizbang pack. Like you're getting a nice amount of value for free. And like this is the kind of stuff, because I remember never spending a dime on this game. This is the kind of stuff that for not a whole lot makes a lot of goodwill in the free-to-play community, because it feels like even though it's incremental progress that you don't have to work for. You're just enjoying the game. You're just watching the game. So this is a home run for them. Love it.
Yeah.
Excitement abounds, especially like a golden Whizbang pack. Like you don't have to pre-order the big bundle to get a golden pack.
I'm gonna get 5
You don't have to
commons.
spend 400 gold per. 5 commons.
I'm getting 5 commons.
Literally
Shmoopy,
impossible.
That's not possible. I'm going to get 5 commons.
First ever world record 5 common golden common. Golden common.
Make it,
and if you
make a
do
nasty
not
tweet,
like
send it out there, and be
Goldens-
like, look at this, Blizzard.
Yeah, if you
Fine,
don't
they're
even
gonna be
care
like,
about your
wow, you
Goldens, that's
You
that's
beat the
just
algorithm.
dust at that point, right? Like if you don't care.
Oh yeah,
It's
no,
just
no,
dust.
no. Oh yeah. Well, especially because it's like the Goldens, right? Like it's I think I will go over to order. We'll go over pack order next episode. Like which ones you should open up if you've been saving. But like that can help fill out your collection too. I'm memeing. Like it's still awesome because sometimes
yeah.
you will high roll and you won't just get 5 golden commons. You'll get actually something like you might get an epic or even a legendary.
Or even a
Or
signature
2.
legendary.
And that's
Or
one of your
2.
first 10, right? That's one of your first 10 Goldens because the Goldens are a different timer than the regular packs. So that's something to keep in mind too.
Correct.
So like it's a completely different timer. Like you're guaranteed 10% chance to get a legendary. You take those.
You get
for
that
free.
first one for free.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
got to buy the other 9.
Yeah, well, listen, but I'm serious though. Like that's a 10% chance at a golden legendary. Like you take that for free.
It's true.
That's free. All you
Yeah.
did was watch while you were probably like doing dishes or something else. So
I feel so seen right now.
Watching Born to Be Wild play some theory crafting.
oh yeah, and we'll definitely do some standard drooler decks. 100%. We have some ideas in mind. We're excited.
All right, do you guys want to talk about some of the newer cards?
Sure. So
Do I ever?
here's the format I'm going to try. I'm going to try reading the card. I'll read the stats. I'll read the text. I'll read the name, probably poorly, and then I'll send it over to you guys to see what you think about it. And then after you guys are done giving your thoughts, anything that you missed that I couldn't think about, I will go over. The first one's a little bit different though, because the first one is more of like a trip down memory lane. This isn't the cards that I picked are either interesting or they're going to impact the wild meta with an emphasis on the impact of the wild meta. But this one is not one of those. It's a 4-mana 4/3. It's in Demon Hunter. It has a death rattle that says get 3 random first edition Demon Hunter cards in mint condition. These are day 1 Demon Hunter cards. The name of the card is CCG, and it's a legendary. Hydra, thoughts on the card? Thoughts on day 1 Demon Hunter? Where do we start, man?
I'm going to start with the funnier part for me before I even get into the card was when I first read the name. I read the name of the card before I watched the video for the
video
release,
was so
and I was kind of doing.
Yeah.
This is another
Priest.
Seathun moment for me. I'm like key G. I'm like, what is this? And then I realized.
Siggy?
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. So CCG, yeah, I get it. Thanks. But so if you were around and if you weren't, when Demon Hunter launched, it was extremely overpowered, mostly in my opinion, because it didn't have the backlog of cards that the other classes did. So it was kind of like, let's make up for it and let's see what happens, right? So they launched this class with tools that were extremely overpowered to the point everyone was playing it, right? If you went on standard ladder at the time, it was just mirror after mirror after mirror because everyone was trying it. It was completely broken, and then nerf after nerf after nerf within days of it being dropped, right? And
I think some were day.
When I say days, I think it's
like
because
18 hours. They're like,
once,
never mind. We'll dial this
right?
one back.
Yeah, no, we gotta dial it back.
We'll let this
and
one
it was
breathe.
so cool because it brought a lot of attention to the game, right? Like, you guys got to come check, call your buddy, like, they added Demon Hunter. It's so OP. Let's go play. Like, it's so cool, right? Like, if you hadn't played the game in a while, maybe you were back in trying it out. Obviously, the Gen and Baku thing, I mean, they don't both work for this, but it was really cool to see like what you could do in Wild with it, even though it was more of a standard thing. But it was really cool. There was a lot of excitement, and this card is pretty cool. It's balanced in the fact that it's understated, right? And it's a death rattle, which makes it obviously worse too. It's not a battle cry, right? So you got to wait for the effect. So like you said, it's a 4 mana 4/3, so it doesn't have a bud on it. And once it dies, then you get the OP card. So it's honestly not the best card on Curve. It could definitely help you later on, but I think it's really cool to go down memory lane with it, and maybe you can do some plays later in the game that, like, obviously you're not getting these cards in your hand from the beginning of the game. You're getting them off this death rattle. So I think it's fine. In all honesty, I don't think this is bad in any sort of way, but prove me wrong. Sheep, what do you think about CCG?
Yeah, I really would just like to mirror a lot of what you're saying. You know, it's a death rattle, which makes it worse, especially because a lot of the first edition Demon Hunter cards were outcast. Well, I say a lot of them. One in particular, I think only two, I-Beam and Skull of Gul'dan. Skull of Gul'dan is the one that I'm talking about. So if it was a battle cry, then that would be one of the possibilities to be on the far right of your hand. If your opponent destroys CCG on their turn, then even if the Skull of Gul'dan would be on the far right, all of a sudden, no, it's not, because then you draw a card at the very beginning of your turn instead. Metamorphosis has since been buffed. So it's funny that Metamorphosis is included in the pool of first edition cards, because it's actually a worse Metamorphosis than we have in the game right now.
Ooh, which brings, do you think they're gonna, so, all right, because this is a perfect time to bring this up. In the gifts, the theory is if the gift card that we got for free recently is buffed in any way, Mind Control, Wild Growth comes to mind. If those are buffed inside of those gift cards, there's some thought those are cards are going to be reverted. Do you think any of these cards will be reverted?
I mean, I honestly don't think that it would hurt Wild too much if they were. Our power level is much higher now than it was then. And I mean, really the only straight up oppressive things from like first edition Demon Hunter that might make Demon Hunter playable in our format, that might be playable in Demon Hunter in our format at least, are maybe Skull of Gul'dan, maybe, but Altruist the Outcast. Yeah. That's the big one, truthfully, because he was a 3 mana 3/2. After you play the left or rightmost card in your hand, deal 1 damage to all enemies. Altruist is why we were playing this deck. Like, Skull could get you discounted Altruist and discounted stuff to be able to, you know, do more of that. But Altruist was really what was doing the most. Yeah, so cool. Absolutely. So, like, I kind of hope that they do revert these, because Demon Hunter and Wild is like, especially this brand of Demon Hunter, it's not a problem, right? And if it actually gives us a new wild archetype for Demon Hunter, I would see that as an absolute win. So I kind of hope they do, truthfully. Maybe with the exception of Metamorphosis, just because it's been buffed since then, but like, you know, and Twin Slice goes to a 0 mana instead of a 1 mana, so we wouldn't be able to play it in an odd Demon Hunter.
But it's plus 1 attack instead of plus 2. So like it's that side grade, right? Like that interesting side grade that they did.
Yeah, and absolutely, it's a buff to 0 mana for non-odd Demon Hunter. It just goes from playable and a really good card in odd Demon Hunter to, I mean, it's an even card. I straight up can't put that in my deck. So it's absolutely a buff in general to go down to 0 mana. And is the deck that would be viable, because of these changes, odd? Or is it just as low to the ground Demon Hunter as we can and just try and get Altruist, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. We'd have to play around with it if that happens. And I mean, that's a really exciting just potential there. So I kind of hope they do it, because that would shake things up too, even if not like super impactful in general, but like shake things up in new things to try, especially Altruist. Altruist is the big one for sure.
Yeah, no, I think you
All
guys.
right, Schmoopydaddy.
I was gonna say, I think you guys pretty much covered it. I think the one again, I would love to see them match up the buffed cards with their versions in here, so that like Metamorphosis feels less bad as like a 5 mana card you get instead of like a 4 mana card, and like because that right now that feels like a low roll to just let me just get 8 damage for 5 mana for 7 mana. Or even the 1-drop, the Battle Friend, right? Because that has 2 attack in the CCG version, but they're actually buffing it for core to be 1 attack, 3 health. So it's kind of taking it in the other direction. I think we need to be looking past Odd Demon Hunter anyway. I don't think Odd Demon. I've played a lot of Odd Demon Hunter for some reason in the past week or so. It feels so dead. It feels we are so far past that time, and the good Demon Hunter decks are all using the quest line in some way. And like, does a 0 mana thing work better in the quest line? Maybe, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So like that's something I would look at. The Adrashi Warblades too, I think is something that's really interesting. Making that a 3 mana 2/3 lifesteal weapon. Is something that was really powerful at the time that I think people sort of undersold. That would be really, really, really big. So yeah, I think that's a good place to cap that first one. So this, again, more of a meme card, more of a trip down memory lane. I would like to say that I think Demon Hunter being busted was a good thing for the game. I know I tweeted this, but when something evokes strong feelings, especially when it's new, it's almost like no news is bad news, right? Like no publicity is bad publicity. We had already had entrenched in us, what was it, 9 classes or 10 classes at that point? 9 classes?
There was 9 and this was
9
the 10.
and this was 10.
We all had strong feelings about 9 classes. We'd played, if you look at the timeline,
and only 9 deck slots.
Yeah, and we had a feeling. We had feelings about
Back in my day.
We had feelings about every class involved, and so like, how are you going to get people interested in a new class other than just like an oddity or something to just sort of as a some sort of grotesque whatever that you're looking at. Oh, look at the funny guy playing Demon Hunter. Like Demon Hunter sucks. We just roll over Demon Hunter. No, they made it awesome and strong. And now I hate Demon Hunter. And it's like wow, I hate Demon Hunter now. I never thought I would hate it just came out. It came out on Wednesday. I hate Demon Hunter. And so like, it's evoking strong feelings right away, and I think it was absolutely a W for them. And I think, what was funny about, I think, Celestalon doing the video and doing the reveal was, I believe they were in charge of the balance for Demon Hunter. And so it was like even they were joking like, oh, yeah, it was perfectly balanced when it came out. And
Yeah,
I think
that
to
was
a certain extent, I think it actually was. I think it was a good thing to go through what we did, because it wasn't muy bastado for too long, too long, and they changed it really fast. So that was just going to be my sort of capstone thoughts. So unless you guys want to pile on that, I'd like to go to the next card.
Let's do it.
The next card is Toy Boat. This is a rogue card. This is a 2 mana 2/3 that reads, after you summon a pirate, draw a card. No, it does not have any tribe attached to it. Let's go Sheep. Sheep, what do you think about this card?
I think Toy Boat is really strong, obviously, because it's not just when you play a pirate. It's when you summon a pirate, just like the ship's cannon, right? So Whenever you summon a pirate, you draw a card. What does Pirate Rogue want? And play lots of cheap pirates. So what does Pirate Rogue want? Not to run out of gas. I mean, this is just two great tastes that taste great together. I mean, this is a match made in heaven. I need to get one of these like toy boats, like in an actual toy format, for the Lamb's bath time, because he's going to be playing some Pirate Rogue as his first deck. Just throwing that out there. Hydra, how about you?
I'm undecided on Toy Boat. Now, as you may know, I do love me Rogue, and I do love me Pirates. So it has two of my favorite things. And like Sheep said, it does not have a pirate tag, just like Ship's Cannon. Now, Rogue has refill already, right? So I think this is a good card. I'm gonna play it. I don't know if I will always play it. Just because of the refill that we currently already have. I prefer to be doing, damage, maybe if we're doing cannons, that sort of thing. I kind of don't want to dilute my pool for my weapon when I'm looking for pirates in my deck to get the buff on my weapon. So that kind of scares me. I don't like having too many non-pirate cards in there. I think it's great. I think it's maybe more of a standard card. Still a good card. If I cracked this and I was a newer player, gonna be starting up my wild deck, I don't have everything, I would probably put this definitely, like, we do need refill when we are playing fast decks. I just personally think Rogue has better ways to do it at this point. I think that is my stance. Yeah. Schmoopydaddy?
Is Buzzard a good card?
It was, and then it wasn't, and then it was. Yeah.
Okay, but the 2 mana.
So it is now, yeah.
2 mana 2/1 Buzzard's pretty good, right? So
yeah,
this has a bigger butt than Buzzard. Now it doesn't share the same tribe. It doesn't share the same tribe as the thing that's triggering the draw, right? Which is a hang up, right? So this is a low roll if you're playing Swordfish, and you happen to your options are Secret Passage, Toy Boat. I get that. But I wanted to just reiterate, this says after you summon a pirate, draw a card. So on to, with the coin, Toy Boat plus 1-drop pirate plus Parachute Brigand plus Patches draws 4 cards. This is a powerful draw engine.
That's a dream world, though. Dream hand, right? It will happen.
Sure, sometimes
it is, but it's a pretty realistic dream hand too.
You would keep it, and sometimes it's going.
Oh,
to be...
you would keep it for sure.
Sometimes it's going to be Toy Boat, coin, 1-drop, Patches, and now it's 3 mana, and I've drawn 2, and I've developed X amount of power on board. It is a powerful draw engine. I think it probably replaces Fellwings as far as where you would put it in the slot in the deck itself. I never loved Fellwings, but this is a non-pirate. Swap out a non-pirate for a non-pirate. I think immediately it changes how you build the deck so that you only are playing pirates that cost either 1 or 0. So Dread Corsair is fine. That costs 0 because my weapon is always 4 attack or better. My Parachute Brigands, they come out of my hand for free. And everything else a 1-drop pirate. Or it's damage. Harmonic, Gear Shift, Passage, Ship's Cannon. These all find their ways on there. I think this thing is nasty. I think it's nasty enough that it might actually even push some decks that aren't necessarily Pirate Rogue. You might see it. I've seen some people talk about, Garrote Rogue is always, perpetually almost playable or really, really, really close. Having some sort of, freebooter package to spam pirates to draw through your deck with Toy Boat, I think it's totally possible, completely feasible. Nasty draw engine is, I think, what I'm taking away from it. And because it's got 3 health and not 2 health, not 1 health, it's going to be really hard to remove. So even despite it not being a pirate, despite it not triggering your ship's cannon, I think it goes in a staple in Pirate Rogue immediately for at least Wild. That's my take on it.
I think if you are going to remove the Fellwings, I think you are definitely onto something. I don't think you run. There's no way you can have 4 non-pirates in there like that. So I would agree if we were going to remove the Fellwings, that this would be the ideal slot in at that point. Yeah, for sure.
I would even like think about it as a deck builder, that maybe like right now it's in vogue for Pirate Rogue to run 1 Shiny Finder. Like we're down to 1 Shiny Finder to get a Swordfish, because so much of the board is actually like, we don't care all that much about Swordfish as our sorts of, like, we love it. Like we have our harmonics, and we have Swordfish, and like, okay, yeah, that's absolutely a source of damage, but we finally only need 1 non-pirate tutor. Toy Boat might draw enough that we just cut the Shiny Finder. And if we are cutting the Shiny Finder, are we cutting the Harmonics? If we're cutting the Harmonics, how does that change the list? So, like, that's an iteration, and that's like a version of the deck that is going to need some exploring and smarter people than me to figure out what the deck list looked like. But that's just me sort of looking at it as far as, like, where it could go. Do we want to do another Rogue card, or do we want to, like, ship on over to the Priest cards next?
Let's very, very good. Let's do Raza.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So brand new Raza the Resealed, is a 5-mana 5/5. For the rest of the game, your hero power refreshes whenever you play a card. I went sheep last time. Hydra, what do you think about new Raza?
5 is less than 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that you can play this sooner than Anduin.
Yes.
Which means that's pretty cool. Now, I know that Anduin has this neat battle cry that sort of destroys things, but that was kind of just a bonus, right? Like, if your opponent had some big things on the board and you ripped Anduin, cool. It killed the minions that were 5 or bigger, but you still played it anyway, even if they didn't. Like, you weren't holding out for Anduin value. You were trying to just be able to get your hero power online, right? To be able to machine gun them down. So this can replace that earlier on, 3 turns earlier. So I think this is kind of the way to go at this point. You don't need it. You could just play like a Shadow Raza Priest without the hero. So it's kind of cool, a little scary, to be honest, because when that deck first came around, I was not much of a fan until I learned it. Then I was a fan. In general, yeah, those are my thoughts. I think this is sort of an Anduin replacement. You can be that sort of that was like a control version of it at the time, right? You may be able to do this a lot faster than you used to, which is quite scary, in all honesty. How about you, Sheep?
So I still think that this is a control deck. I think we probably are running Dark Bishop, the Shadow. Yeah. But of course, I also think that this is still a Highlander deck, because the other Raza that makes your hero power cost 0 requires you to be a Highlander. What's another really good Highlander card that we couldn't really play so much if we wanted to do Shadow Reaper Anduin things, right? Reno. What would be fantastic as a 0-mana hero power that then will refresh every time you play a card? Reno, because you're either gaining armor, you're summoning a 3-drop, you're drawing a card, you're discovering
discovering a spell, which is more
spell,
fuel, which is gross. Because it could be a 0-mana spell, right? Like, there's an option to do that. So
and the battle cry is even more impactful than Shadow Reaper Anduin's. It's not just 5 drops and above. It's the whole board, including locations where other, like tokeny things.
Poof.
So yeah, just gone, and restricts your opponent to only one board slot the following turn. So double the impact there. I think that this is still a control deck, but like a control combo-y style, like it was back in the day. This just makes it kind of upgrading to, wild viability once more. And I think that we're going to start seeing this deck more, and I'm kind of here for it. It's like double Raza. It's Reno. It's, I'm going to hate playing against it whenever they get there, but also like, I think that archetype being viable in our format is healthy for the format. However much it's not my favorite play style to play against. So I'm really looking forward to playing as this deck at least a few times, and happy that it'll keep some of the other control decks out of the format, because that inevitability engine that is the OTK. Are we going to put Spawn of Shadows back in? Maybe. Like Spawn of Shadows was buffed. It's now Battle Cry and Inspire, right? So you can do that without having to like have played Reno, because you can Raza, then you can just like go off. So I think this just opens up the possibility. It makes the combo earlier. I'm excited to see it. And of course, if we're playing Spawn and we're doing all of that stuff, are we doing the Dark Bishop Benedictus stuff? Like, maybe not, because then you're healing yourself and then you're doing that. And then you could do like Renew, you could do all that. Like the deck building potential is there for so many different branching paths. I know this isn't Druid, but so many different branching paths that I'm excited to see what kind of becomes meta and what becomes kind of off meta but viable. And it just opens up so many possibilities that are really exciting to see come to fruition. So I'm really excited about Raz the Resealed, even if I'm probably not going to play it too much myself. I'm super excited that it's both coming into the format and that it's kind of speeding things up a little in that aspect too. What do you think, Mr. Daddy?
Yeah, I think you nailed pretty much my thoughts on it, as far as just this becomes such a tool for deck building. So it's funny. Reno is so good and Anduin is so good. A lot of Shadow Priest lists were running both. So like you would do one and then you do the other, and then you were kind of like, and like you were just kind of like accept it. I think there's, depending on the meta, there might be a place where you still see Shadow Reaper Anduin played because of the Battle Cry specifically, because you can do it through Lotheb. So like, let's say for whatever reason, Miracle Rogue is a big deal. Having that option as a clear option to, Shadow Reaper Anduin from turn 8 onward is in fact a big enough deal. Maybe you see Shadow Reaper Anduin included in lists, but I'm with Hydra. I think you would insta-cut it, and you go at Raza the Resealed. Now, where you go from there is really interesting. I think you always keep it full Shadow, and I think you keep it Reno, but do you top it off at Reno Lone Ranger? Do you top it off at OG Reno? Do you top it off at Bomb Swamdi and have a bunch of 1-drops like the Chinese used to do, where you'd have a bunch of 1-drops in your deck, like Void Touch Attendant and Broom and Glacial Shard and stuff like that? So you had Anduin Fuel. So now you can have Anduin Fuel sooner. So like you play your 7-drop and like, yes, it's a 7-mana 7/7, but you just drew 6 cards and made a bunch of Anduin Fuel. Do you, or I guess just Hero Power Fuel now. Do you make this a more low to the ground aggressive list, and like your top end is Spawn of Shadows and Raza, and Reno's your most expensive card at 6, but you've also got Lotheb, and just the list gets thinner and thinner and thinner as you go down there. Modern Reno Priest lists have been more tempo focused anyway. They've been getting away from the control aspect, because the individual, I think, priest control spells have been less and less impactful. Even Shaman has done a good job of pushing that out. If you're stuck with only using shadow spells, and you're not running stuff like Scream anymore, and nothing really kills 4-mana minions from a board wipe perspective, you have to fight for board with tempo. So I think you're gonna see more of that style of play. But again, I think this is going to be by far. You're intriguing me with the whole idea of what if you don't go shadow at all, and that's like, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, if spawn is your finisher and you've got void touch to tenant, and you can just, palm reading into a bunch of healing spells, and maybe you do a little bit of a heal OTK aspect there. Like this is going to make a lot of jank. This is going to make a lot of jank, and some of it's going to be playable, and it's going to be really cool. So I think this is.
I love playable jank.
I think this is a phenomenal card, and I think it will absolutely have an impact on the wild meta, even if Reno Priest isn't any good. Like I've said, I think on the last episode of the podcast, people are going to play it, so you're going to play against it. So whether it's good or not, suck it up, Buttercup. You're going to end up playing against it. So, any further thoughts on Raza before we go to the next one? That's goofy.
I'm good. Let's go.
Sweet.
Hi, good. I'm Sheep.
Well, they also printed as the second legendary for Priest a 5-mana 4/6 named Time Winder Zarimi. Battle cry: once per game, if you summoned five other dragons, take an extra turn. Once per game, if you've summoned 5 other dragons, take an extra turn. Who's up next? I forgot. Is that Sheepy?
I think it's my turn this time.
What do you think about this?
So I'm super happy that this is a battle cry once per game. I love the, like, what was it? A Kazakhstan kind of callback here with the, if you've summoned 5 other dragons, take an extra turn. In standard in particular, this seems like almost like a mid-range tool that then you build up your board. You've been playing dragons this whole time. You're probably not running this one as a Highlander deck in standard in particular, because the only payoff there is, I was about to say Shadow Reaper Anduin, is Reno. So you have your density of dragons. You're able to build up a board. And then once you're kind of like sticking and kind of a board in general from one turn to the next, then you're able to drop this. So you go face for a decent amount, or if it's later in the game, you're building up a board and dropping Time Winder Zarimi so that you can then go face with the board that you just built up the next turn. I think this is maybe we can even with Zarimi as a payoff, actually play just a straight up like mid-rangey dragon priest in our format too, maybe. And I think that's really exciting too. The stats on it, 5 mana, 4/6, meh. Not the best, not terrible, but of course we're playing this for the battle cry. That's 4 damage that then can go face next turn. It's 5 mana, just like the I was about to say Caverns of Time. The quest reward for the mage quest.
Time warp.
But the time warp. Open the Waygate was the name of the quest. Time warp was the reward. That's right. So it's the same mana cost as the time warp itself, which I think is really flavorful as well and keeps it from being like super early game. Like if we're just running a whole bunch of like little 1-drop dragons, getting this off on turn 3 will cost 5. We can't do that. So I think it has a lot of potential for our format, especially in a more mid-range deck where we're running a density of dragons. I don't think we're probably going to run this in our Highlander Priest because we really want to have either those like hyper like combo tools like you were talking about with Bonswamdi and so many 1-drops, etc., or running it more control, which typically isn't like a high density of dragons in particular. So I don't think that I think that those are going to be different lists, but the effect of an extra turn per game is huge. So the payoff here is absolutely worthwhile, honestly, building a deck around. So I'm really excited to see where we end up going with Time Winder Zarimi. And, I could be completely wrong in forecasting the kind of deck this will be in. And I love being wrong with these kinds of predictions. So I'm excited to see where the community ends up with it. But I think that the community will end up somewhere with it because it's such a powerful effect. And of course, super glad that it's once per game. Hydra, what do you think?
Yeah. I think that I'm glad this card didn't come out about like 5 years ago. So in Twist, we're approaching actually when our mid-range like Dragon Priest is actually going to be a thing, which is super cool. It was one of my favorite decks is when I first started actually really ranking up and hitting like bigger numbers. Draconoid Operative came out, all that sort of stuff. Like that deck, if this card existed when that mid-range Dragon Priest was around, would have been absolutely broken. Absolutely broken. And so we don't have that in Wild right now. And I don't think that this card makes that old deck a viable deck necessarily, right? It's too slow compared to the aggro decks that we have, that it won't be able to keep up, right? So if we had, I feel like it would need to go into maybe more of a control style deck where we have certain other dragons that we're playing sort of along the way, and we make it to the fact that we have played 5 dragons, that we can drop this, take our extra turn, have our big turn at that point in time. I just don't think Wild isn't really good at this point in time of having those mid-range decks, right? So it's the really fast aggro decks, or it's the control decks that shut them down, like that kind of thing, right? And then we got the odd combo deck that's in there. This doesn't slot into something where I'm playing on curve for me in our format of Wild. It's going to have another home somewhere else where, as Schmoopydaddy said, someone smarter than me is going to come up with the deck where this slots in. Like there's going to be a Dustbreaker as a clear, and then we'll move on and we'll have another dragon, like sort of like we'll have these things that slowly build up, and then we can pull this off later on. As a standard card, I would be really, really afraid if they are supporting dragons right now in standard, because this would be nuts. Because if you're able to like build your board, drop this, and then you get to go again, and you've already been chipping away, and you get to do your double damage at this point, it's broken, and it is going to be insane, absolutely insane in standard, not so much in Wild. That is my opinion. Schmoopydaddy, what you got?
Well, I've seen a build of this in Aggro Priest. I've seen an Aggro Priest that runs Cleric of the Scales. It runs 2 copies of Mistake. It runs 2 copies of, I forget what that 1 mana 2/1 dragon is that gains 3 health or 2 health if you're holding
Dragon Whelp or something.
Yeah, something, right, like Twilight Whelp or something. I forget what it's called.
Twilight Whelp, yeah, that's the one.
There's a new 1-drop that will buff itself and then by +1/+1, and then buff another dragon in hand by +1/+1, I believe, if you are holding a dragon. And there's also Ship's Churgeon, which is also a pirate, which we have to remember is also a pirate. So we've got Mistake, which is also a pirate, and we've got Ship's Churgeon, which is also a pirate. So we're also running patches. You're still building it around Thirsty Drifters, but you've got 8 dragons in the list, including Cleric of the Scales, that can help, you tutor spells from your deck as long as you're holding a dragon, while also, making your Thirsty Drifters cheaper. Is it better than straight up Aggro Priest? No, probably not. is this card going to tilt people more? Are we going to see more complaints about this on Reddit because it will feel worse losing to this card? I think unequivocally yes. And I think that is going to be what the issue is, more with this card than anything else. You're going to see both types of aggro priest, and one's going to blow up you much faster. This one is going to hurt more. And this is the one that's going to incite people to going on Reddit being like, I lost because my aggro priest opponent took an extra turn with a void touch attendant on board. And like we're gonna hear about this one more. But
Wow, you sounded just like everyone on Reddit.
I know, it's amazing. I think this, I'm sorry for my voice for a minute. I think that this is gonna be more that impact. I think you're gonna see it in like really greedy Renathal versions, like if we're running like 40 cards, if that's worth doing. This is only a 6 dragon package out of 40 cards. People are going to do it. You're going to see this in play in Wild because it's cool, because it's new, because the effect is powerful, and it will swing games. Will it be good? People are still going to do it because it feels good to play, and that's kind of, I think, where we're at with it. So unless you guys have anything to add on to Time Winder
Zarimi. I have one thing to say, and that is it's not about playing the most optimized list. It's about sending a message.
It's about sending a message, yes. All right.
That's it. Before you move on, I would like to say I played this weekend. I was playing an old deck that my buddy Sheep had made that was labeled as bombs in face. It's a horrible deck these days.
Oh yeah.
In all honesty,
Did you ever win?
I eventually, yes. It took me forever. I can't remember if I sent a screenshot or not, but I played this stupid deck for like an hour. It's an aggressive.
It wasn't a great deck whenever I made it years ago.
But I still have it in my library, and I was determined to win because what I wanted to do is beat somebody else at the same MMR as me with a deck that is garbage in Wild. So I thought it was pretty funny that yeah, so it was a lot of fun. So that was about sending a message. People be like, "What are you playing? Why are you playing Goblin Bombs?"
I did forget this one little detail, and then we absolutely should move on to the next card. But the once per game of being attached to a time warp like effect, again, getting people excited. Maybe this is a precursor. Maybe not in the next notes that we see, but maybe this is a precursor in future balance. If they want to address Quest Mage and Wild, they could easily slap a once per game on that time warp card, and see how that goes. So I think that's something that
Schmoopy looked into his crystal ball here.
I think that's something that we're gonna look, because they keep saying once per game, and I actually on Twitter I goofed around and I crossed out Winders are near me and put like warp in like badly scribbled letters, which is just my handwriting, and colored in the white outline as blue, and it crossed out a bunch of words, and it was just like once per game, take an extra turn. I'm like, this is what they're doing to time warp now. Like that's I think that might be in the tea leaves, maybe just looking at the card design, possibly. All right. Next card is interesting. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this one, because I think this one is another one that I think immediately slots into wild decks and not necessarily the ones you would think. It's a 1-mana rogue card that's called Dig for Treasure. It reads, draw a minion. If it's a pirate, get a coin. I'm up to Hydra right now, right? Hydra?
Mm-hmm.
That is correct.
What do you think about this card?
Well, did you say it was 1 mana?
1 mana.
No, it's 0. So that is kind of like my thoughts on the card, right? So depending on how you've built your deck, this is either a 1 mana draw card, which is already pretty good value, or it is a 0 mana card, depending on how you build your deck, right? So if you're going to look at the obvious of building a pirate style deck, then this is going to be free almost every single time, unless you're running other things, you know, like the Fellwings or the ship's cannons or the toy boats or the cavern shiny finders, like that sort of thing. So it's either 1 mana, draw a card, or it is 0 mana, draw a card. However, there's this other thing that's also called Miracle, and that is something that Rogue likes to do. They like to cycle things, and what's better than a 1 mana thing that gives you another 0 mana thing that also draws a thing? Like, it just did 3 things that's gonna make you keep going and going and going. So this is another Energizer Bunny sort of card for Miracle style deck. So I think that you can slot it into multiple style things. If you're trying to be aggressive, you need more draw, you want that pirate, or you're playing a Miracle deck, and it just keeps going and going. I think that it slots into different types of decks, and it's something that we probably will see going forward as like a Rogue in general. I think this could become a staple Rogue card that we just see in decks from now on, sort of thing. Sheep, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Dig for Treasure is almost going to be a ubiquitous Rogue card, kind of like you were saying. Of course, the first thing that came to my mind was Pirate Rogue. Like you were mentioning, you know, we tutor draw, it's a minion. If it's a pirate, we get a coin, which if we've got Toy Boat or the shooty one that I'm drawing
Cannon.
a blank on. Cannon, ship's cannon, thank you. So if we've got Toy Boat or ship's cannon on board, then we've got a coin to then play the cheap pirate that we just drew, or another pirate that's in our hand, and you know, just with additional reload or pings across the board. Just great. Where our friend Raxius immediately went with this whenever she saw it was Alex Rogue. So Alex Rogue runs a whole lot of draw engine. Most of those, of course, pretty much all of those being spells. And then the few minions that are there being the combo pieces. I don't think a whole lot or any of the combo pieces are pirates. But if you're actively just drawing your combo piece, I think you're happy with like not necessarily getting a coin, right? Like you already are running the 2 mana one that draws a spell. And then if you've comboed it, you also draw a minion. I play this all the time and I'm just bad with names today. That's fine. ADD. Schmoopy looks like he knows what it's called, but he's
What do you?
the 2 mana one.
Swindle?
Swindle, that's the one.
There you go.
Thank you, Azalea. Yeah, so you're already running Swindle. You know, you're already doing all of those things. So I think you just play Dig for Treasure as well. I mean, you tutor draw, get closer to your combo. You're hyper drawing for your combo in general. This guarantees you a combo piece. Like, what's not to love about that? What's not to love about that is playing against it.
Yeah,
I mean, that. Right. Speaking of Mind Rogue, what all does Mind Rogue play as far as minions goes? Combo pieces and Cavern Shiny Finder, which draws you a combo piece. So, I mean, it's every single Rogue deck, I think, just wants to run Dig for Treasure because it's either digging for the treasure itself, read combo pieces, which may or may not get you a coin. The 2 examples I gave don't give you a coin. But also, if this is aggro, then it pays for itself because 98%, not actual stats, of your minions are pirates anyway. So odds are you're going to be getting a coin or a toy boat or the ship's cannon, which you're happy to see anyway. So more draw for things that you want to play. Yes, please and thank you. So I think dig for treasure is going to be pretty much everywhere. What do you think, Schmoopy?
I ironically don't think it makes the cut in Pirate Rogue. I think we are already running Secret Passage, we're running Toy Boat, we're running Gear Shift, and you want to run Dig for Treasure. I think Dig for Treasure is the weakest of the draw engines of those options. So I don't know if it makes the cut in that deck. But is it an Alex Rogue card? Yes. Is it a Mine Rogue card? Yes. Is it a Miracle Rogue card? You run Plunderers in that deck. Sometimes you get a coin from that. Absolutely yes. No, I think this card's busted. I unironically think, or I guess I ironically think that it's going to go everywhere except for where it was designed to go, which is in Pirate Rogue itself, because Pirate Rogue is more of like a deck dump, like a hand dumping deck. And you're dumping your hand, and then, okay, yeah, I got a coin. I'm floating 4 mana. I don't quite see it as being as strong an option in that deck as in some others, which is, I think, more along the lines of where I'm thinking about it. But it's a rogue card forever. I mean, this is another thing that makes something like if people really want to play Garrote Rogue with Record Scratcher and the new Elemental, this is, I forget the magic turn, if it's like Cantrap or something like that. It's like a 1 mana draw 1. Cantrip. 1 mana draw 1. 1 mana draw 1. Rogue just keeps printing more and more 1 mana draw 1s. Throw this one on the pile. It's just, you're right. It's going to be there forever. And is it ever going to get nerfed? No, this isn't an overly strong card for any particular reason. But I do think it could. I do think it's going to be around Rogue decks forever. And yeah, sometimes you will see it in Pirate Rogue. I don't think it's going to be good there. But yes, every Rogue deck ever, yes. Rar.
Rar.
So if we're done digging
I
for
think
treasure,
that's something we can all agree on.
if we're done digging for treasure, we're going to go play on the Jungle Gym. This was revealed today, and this was really, really cool. Deal 1 damage to a random enemy, so you don't need anything else. You just start. It's a 2 mana location. It's got 3 charges. Deal 1 damage to a random enemy. Repeat for every friendly beast. So if you have like Whoppertinger out on 2, this deals 3 damage randomly to enemies. If there's no minions on the board, you're just hitting it face. Or this is a cheap source of AoE in a meta where I think pirates could possibly be good. Azalea in chat. Azalea's in chat's like 7 face? Yeah, like how many times playing Beast Hunter are you 6 beasts across and you drop this? This has 3 charges. I'm sorry, I'm already gushing. Other thoughts? Who are we up to? I think sheep. I'm sorry, sheep. I got excited. I wanted to climb on the Jungle Gym, sheep.
I understand. Just wait until recess, Mr. Daddy. Just wait until recess, Schmoopy. Yeah, exactly as you were saying. We've got Wolpertinger. We've got the so many 1 mana beasts that either generate beasts on the board or into your hand that you can then play. Beast Hunter is already a super playable deck. You know, it's super low to the ground. It goes super wide. Jungle Gym just gives it even more burst. And let's say on 2, like you said, Wolpertinger on 1, Jungle Gym on 2, you press the button and then it deals 3 randomly to the board. That's fine. Then wait 2 turns. Guess what? On turn 3, it's on cooldown. You're building your board up. On turn 4, it's active. You can build your board up more and then push button again. And then after you push button, then in 2 more turns, you get to push button yet again. I mean, like, this is just incredible. The 3 durability, 3 for 2 mana. Like, this is exactly what Beast Hunter wants to actually like go from being like super playable to like probably meta, and not just probably meta, but probably like high tier 2, low tier 1. This may be the only new Hunter card we're playing in that, but this card is so good that I think it may just elevate it that far. And that deck is already super consistent because it is so low to the ground. And it has a draw engine quite like Toy Boat that we were just talking about earlier, that Starving Buzzard, 2-mana, 2/1. Again, super low to the ground. We're always playing these little 1-mana, 3-mana, but multiple minions, beasts. It's exactly what that deck wants to do. Jungle Gym is not only a payoff for that, but 3 durability. 3 durability. Like, yeah, you can play it on 2 and probably get value from it there. But even if you're not, I can play it on 2 and then on turn 3, I'm going wide and pushing button then. Like it's versatile. 3 durability. Did I mention that Jungle Gym has 3 durability?
Stop
I think it's busted.
The devs. It has 3.
What do you think, Hydra?
Okay, so what I really appreciate about this card is that Hunter in our format has not been like a power outlier other than when we had like Questline Hunter, which was everywhere and got a little annoying at some point in time for everybody, right? But that was like one of the biggest times that we saw Hunter everywhere. And yes, there has been things like Copper Hunter and stuff that you'll see, Corb playing at high legend, but you're not seeing it as someone who's maybe like an average player. You weren't playing against it, right? You're playing that in, top 200 legend kind of thing, right? It's not something you see everywhere. You don't see Hunter in Wild unless you were at the very top or you're at the very bottom. And it's been a long time since Hunter was meta. I think this could do it for Hunter, and I think that is super exciting because I think it's a little overpowered, but much like when they introduced the Demon Hunter class and made some overpowered cards to get some attention to something, this can be that. Just don't nerf it, please, because it's super cool and we can see some cool things out of Hunter finally for a long time in Wild. And I do fear that it will get nerfed because in Standard, Hunter seems to be something that does get play. It has in the last couple of years. Hunter decks have been a thing. So if it's going to get nerfed, it'll get nerfed in Standard and we will suffer. I think it's cool, and I'm really excited to see Schmoopydaddy climb the jungle gym.
I want to climb the jungle gym. I think
it's time for recess now.
I think the only thing that I want to add to this sucker is one of the weaknesses that Beast Hunter has had is against combo, it is way too slow. It's not an aggro deck. It's more of like almost like a mid-range deck that is good into aggro, that feasts on aggro, but it also has like some good knockout punches where it can take out some control decks. It's not the worst thing to make a busted location these days because you can just erase them with Reno Lone Ranger because that's a fair card. So I think something like Jungle Gym adding to the amount of damage burst turns that Hunter can play and can deal with, I think that's a huge upgrade. And like Sheep kept saying, like 3 durability. If you wait until turn 3 to pop this sucker off, you could also pop it off on turn 5. You could also pop it off on turn 7, which is when you'd play Hydralisk and pop some heads. So like there are definitely some pattern of plays where you're going to see this. Sometimes you're going to have 2 on board. This is a rare. I think this card is disgusting, and I think that it's fun, and I think it's going to push. You're going to see it play in the format, and honestly, Beast Hunter is low-key a decent deck to play now anyway. It's just criminally underplayed because people don't play it, and it's kind of hard. This is going to make the deck less hard, while also shoring up some weaknesses as far as face damage, but also AoE. Like, you don't always have your Dread Scale Serpent Bloom on curve. So, when in doubt, just pepper your pirate rogue opponents a little bit with some 1-mana damage, with some 1 damage pellets, whatever. I think that's.
I love the alliteration of pepper your pirate rogue opponents with some pellets. That's such good alliteration.
Thank you.
Please.
Please. Pretty please. So, I mean, I would expect to see, I would expect to see some Beast Hunter again. Yeah, completely honest. Like, it's a decent enough deck now. It's going to be 3. It's got 3 durability. All right.
That's more than 2.
I'm also going to help lead the unrelated advice here. So if we want to transition to the ending of the show,
I'm just curious who you going to be asking unrelated advice for?
Well, that depends on your performance on a competition. So are we going to just play do we play the music now just to?
All right, we'll go with the standard one.
And now, unrelated advice.
And now, unrelated advice. With Nate Wolf.
Everybody.
The Born to be Wild crew.
Okay, so I'm going to say this once.
Hold on. I finally make the buttons for everyone, but there's no everyone button. I just want to point that out.
I don't know what to tell you.
I have an idea, Hydra. And now, unrelated advice for everyone. Get in here.
Okay. I'll have that one for next week. I'm like, okay, I've got the sheep one, I've got the Hydra one, I've got the Schmoopydaddy one. I even have one that says with special guest, and you decide to do it for everyone.
I'm sorry.
All right.
This is going to happen very quick, guys, so I'm going to need your best reactions on this one. Okay, let me just ask Sheep real quick.
Okay.
We're gonna have a titanic
Sheep.
mate.
Odds or evens?
Odds.
Hydra, say toy boat 5 times fast. Go.
Toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat. That was hard.
Sheep, say toy boat 5 times fast.
Toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat.
Okay, Sheep, the unrelated advice is for you. How do you say toy boat so fast?
Well, you see, first I say toy boat, and I say it rather quickly. And then I say toy boat again. And I pick up the pace a little. And then I say toy boat yet again, rather quickly. And then I do that however many more times to get to 5.
Wiser words were never spoken.
And you heard that on
Born to be wild.
Toy boat, toy boat,
I just
toy
like
boat,
saying
toy boat,
toy
toy boat,
boat,
toy
okay?
boat, toy boat.
Toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy
It's so
boat, toy
hard,
boat, toy
but
boat,
it's
toy
really
boat,
hard.
toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat.